Yes, good morning, dear viewers, and welcome to this weekly show, The Voice. And in today's program, we will be looking at governance and development uh, in our community, especially in the BLM community. Of course, you know that governance and development always go alongside with politics to an extent. That does not mean that we propagate or we are a surrogate for any political party or such, but politics is something that cannot be completely ignored because politics and policy shape the governance and development. And we want to look at who is really in control of the BLM, the governance in the BLM per se. We will be looking into that. Over time, we have seen so many things in terms of project, in terms of infrastructures, especially post the conflict. There is kind of stagnation where the road network has not been very conceived or has not been well handled, where we still see transportation, even up to now, at 15 to 20,000 from Chang to Menji, which is just about 5 kilometers, which is about 45 kilometers, sorry. So we look at the recovery process compared to other division post the armed conflict where things are relatively very calm. But we see that Menji, the BLM capital city, which is the face of the BLM division in the southwest region, doesn't really reflect a headquarter. And we'll continue to advocate for this until the leadership, the local government, take that responsibility and take care of the BLM and take care of that Menji. Of course, it doesn't cancel the fact that the indigenous or those that live in proximity in the Menji metropolitan area, I'm talking about those that live in Vo, those that live in Chamfem, those that live in Befua, Menji, Chinatet, Dasogo, Jinacha, all of these people are like the metropolitan that they also have to get into seeing that things are being done right because they remain the face of the BHM. I think His Majesty from the Kunze said, you guys should make sure that Menji look better like the capital. It is all one capital. I think he was saying that during the past campaign rally of the CPD that took place prior to the October 12th presidential election. But now, who are the local government? Who are those responsible? We are looking at the council. We are looking at the politician leader, the political leader, the parliamentarian, and the local government, which is the council. They're absent in the BLM. They're absent in Menji capital is creating a vacuum, and we cannot hide it. We have to say it the way it is. The fact that the parliamentarian does not have an office in Menji or a representative that will go around to monitor some of these projects and to have first-hand information is a problem. The fact that the chamber, the council chamber, is not in Menji, it's in Chang. The mayor and the executive are not present in Menji pose a serious problem in development. The reason we see most of the projects are abandoned, are incomplete, or are poorly executed. We have seen cases of incident, bridge collapse, because there was no leadership where somebody fell and died. And that's the report that we got. Whatever happened, somebody fell on the bridge. Up to now, there's no independent verification, there's no independent investigation, being it from the security, from the administrative. I mean, we are talking of the capital city. There is lack of leadership in that regard. Then when you move over to the government administration, administrative leadership, the senior divisional officer, the delegate, the inspector of education and rest, we'll just make an editorial. So education, we're talking about education, we saw that there was still lack of leadership in that regard. Education remained the pillar, the cornerstone of every civil society. Without education, there's no development, there's no progress, there's no growth, there's no democracy, there is nothing. But we saw that the offices of the delegate of basic education and secondary education, because these are two ministries, are overgrown with grass. No one is there. If they are there, then they all come in from Chang and do whatever they do in 1 hour and goes away. It doesn't work like that. I mean, we have done a study or a report in Waterfall subdivision, in the Wuri division of the littoral region. And we try to compare the two. And we saw what the inspector of Dwara 4 subdivision was doing a tour in different primary schools and nursing school. But when it comes to the BLM, it's a whole different case. Yes, of course, we know that we are just trying to recover from the crisis. But at least the level in which this government official should be functioning, I mean, it's allowed way to really express what is going on. This time that will learn that the senior divisional officer issue a memo ordering all the offices to evacuate from Chang and come down to Menji. But the question I want to ask is, if the deal has remained in Menji with the security forces and the rest, why can other delegates too not remain in Menji? We saw the chamber council or the chamber the council building that started since 2018, 2015 when that contract was awarded. They started the foundation. The crisis erupted in 2018. They abandoned it. Through activity, through civil society, there was a lot of pressure. The work resumed. As slow as it is, I will not go into detail because I don't know what is going on there. But the work, the building is there. The structure seem still incomplete. We reported it. People can go and watch our channel and saw the report that we did. I mean, it's just unbelievable. The sport complex in Menji. What is really wrong? What is really happening in our own community? Contract awarded in June. Up to now, there's nothing done. So I just want to think that despite all of this, I mean, not forgetting the leadership too, in the traditional leadership, there's also a lack of leadership too from our traditional authority. The chiefs are not in their villages, they are not in their palaces. We have seen go across, we see it, and that is where all of this seems to be happening until we step up and take some responsibility. Somebody will say, but this guy, you live in the US. I'm not a chief, I'm not a leader of anything. But we are just saying what it is that people need to own up, and the community need to start talking about this and need to ask pertinent questions. Despite all of this, and the reason why sometimes the non-profit initiative, local group, sometimes their impact are not overfair because they come in to give a boost, but they needed support, they needed continuity. Then you see, they try a little bit because all what they are doing is all to support, not to override the traditional authority or the government authority. Non-governmental, that's why they are non-governmental. They come in to give a bullet, they inspire bright future, the Kudum, Legda, and the rest, and Eka. So no matter what this organization do, no matter the little money that they raise to do, they all come in to give a support. That's why you saw that something at the head campaign, they all come in there maybe in a week and do it. But people need care continuously that the government is supposed to provide. In all of the BLM across, very few health center or hospital are working. The divisional hospital in Menji, I'm not sure even it is even functioning. Not to talk of other district hospital, like the one in Azi, the one in Atuda, the one in Bindia. The list goes on and on. I think this election that happened and the municipal election is coming on and the council election sometime next year, probably about 4 months from now, people really need to sit up and ask themselves if I need a re-election or if I'm going in for a new post. Uh, Let me leave you here. Let me bring in the CEO of the Inspire Bright Future, Atem Terence. Let's look at some of the challenges that the BLM faces as in terms of governance. So that we'll be discussing because this is somebody who have, I think, a ton of idea in capacity building, community development. And when we come to local development, leadership in local development, the role that they ought to be playing, and why are things falling apart, and why is that there's so much stagnation in our own division and in our headquarters in particular. Please let me bring in the CEO of Inspired Brand Future, Atem Terence. Atem Terence, you are welcome to Gaza Media, and good morning and happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday, Director, and thank you for having us. And hello to our viewers.
Yes, Terence, there has been a lot that has been going on since from the campaign to the election, post-election, the irregularity, the crisis, the election crisis, election fever, election temperature, even up to now, things seem not to be very stable because of the opposition party. But I would not even want us to go and begin to discuss on that. Of course, what happened in Yaoundé will trigger down to every corner in Cameroon territory. That is a fact. I cannot dispute that. But when you look at governance and leadership in the BLM, I want us to dissect the governance and how this is linked to development, and why is our own recovery very slow or almost stagnant. What is missing?
Yes, Dr. Kumba, that's a quite a loaded question. Um, but I think in very simple terms, um, there are there are prerequisites for development, which it's good governance, leadership, being able to build partnerships, and being able to mobilize resources. So if you just take, I don't want to go into all the different aspects of development, but if you can just work on a few things, and again, we want to separate the Yaoundé syndrome from what we BLM people are capable of doing by ourselves. Whether you're in politics or you're in the non-profit or you're in a community-based organization, I think for us, for this conversation to make sense, I think it's high time we advocate for a BLM development manifesto. That means the BLM people coming together, we know what we want, we know what our people need, and we know what would be required to get what we want. So we have a manifesto where we're saying for over 60 years, the BLM people have been crying out for roads. Basics, just very basic. A road that links the other neighboring divisions to the divisional headquarters, Menji, a road that leaves from Menji and builds a network to all the three subdivisional headquarters, and roads that leave the subdivisional headquarters to the various fondoms and villages. Basic. If you look at it for 60 years, over 60 years, there hasn't really been something a BLM man can call a road. So that's one index that you want to look at, and you begin to see that we as the BLM people, we haven't really made progress. The only one time, the only time that we had a road was during Professor Ndobegang's era. No point intended. I am just stating a fact because I grew up in Menji. I was very involved with community development, um, and I was also very involved with knowing the political landscape. So the only time that you had a road, you remember, Dr. Kumba, you and I could leave Chang and get on Diamond and get to Menji within 45 minutes or 1 hour.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, I know that project was funded by the European Union, but this is a problem. This is the second problem: maintenance with our roads. So it's one thing to bring a road, it's another thing to have a maintenance plan. So they come and they do these projects. They might do it well, and after 1, 2, 3 years, that is it. We fall back the same situation. So the idea of sustainability is missing. So leadership, it's also very important. You can see that there is no way any plane, any car can drive safely to its destination without the people who are on the steering wheel being able to lead and drive that car to safety or land the plane safely. Remember, you are a leader. You have the lives of so many people in your hands. You have the destiny of so many people in your hands. You have the livelihood of so many people in your hands. Everybody cannot be a leader. Everybody cannot be a mayor. Everybody cannot be a councillor. Everybody cannot be a parliamentarian. Everybody cannot be a minister. Everybody cannot be a chief. Everybody cannot be a fund. It is but natural that you only have one fund per fundum. You have one chief in a village. You have one councillor or sometimes a few councillors for a region. And the idea of representation, they are representing. So if you have this privilege, this honor that God has blessed you with, the people have conveyed, they have given you, taking their power, their opportunities, and entrusted it in your hands that you represent them, you govern them. And in terms of tradition, our traditional leaders, you are the custodian of the culture, of the tradition. And the people power comes from the people. The power comes from the people. No traditional leader has themselves. Because at the end of the day, if they cease to exist today, that village, that fundum will put a new chief, will put a new fund. So any power that a fund, a chief has, must come, it's derived from the people. So they have to act with that in mind. When you have a situation where, and we've had this for a long time, this is not just when the war started. You can look at it. A lot of our chiefs left the BLM, left Cameroon, and they are in the diaspora. A lot of our chiefs and funds left their fundoms, and they're outside of their fundoms in Yaoundé, in Boya, in Limbe. I have not seen a single case in Nigeria where the kings of Nigeria, the kings in the Middle East, the kings in other African countries are living outside of their kingdom. It's becoming a problem. It is becoming a problem. We understand, we're not saying this without understanding the challenges that we also as a people, we might also have contributed to it because in the past, when the likes of Fonle Kunzi, who was there before the current fund, the likes of Fontama Songa and Fontem Defang were there, they had a community that provided and supported their well-being and their livelihood. And the palace was being taken care of the community by the community. I think either because of cultural changes and also partly because of what the new funds came in, the younger funds came in and did, it elicited a reaction from the community and from the people, which was negative. Because if a fund comes in, inherits the throne, and then acts like they're thinking about themselves, they want to get involved in politics, politics is a very, very contentious issue. Once you join politics, you open up the floodgates to everything being fair game. Everything about you becomes a fight because your opponents who are in the other political party or who are even in the same political party, everything you try to do, they are looking to bring you down. They are looking, it's a fight. And that's why it is always not beneficial when traditional authorities join politics or join a party. Let me say, I think this is the best way to put it, or join a political party. We know almost every human being um, has to do politics in one form or the other. But it becomes a problem when leaders who are supposed to represent everybody suddenly represent one stripe of the community, one group of the community which is under a political party. So these are some of the challenges that you can see we are facing. Again, the chiefs and the funds living outside of their area that they were giving the responsibility by the ancestors to manage and to administer, and the ability to conform with what their people want. If their people want them not to join politics, then they have to respect it, because when you become fun, you also in return give up some of your rights. What you might want, if it's not what the people want, you see, then generally, most often you defer to what your people want, because your power comes from the people.
And think that's true because if you do analogy, because I always want to do some kind of analogy in terms of leadership. You look like in the Western world, even though somebody who is like the president, say the president of the US, who is of a political party, because he is not there forever,
Right.
contrary to our fund.
Correct.
So someone will say, "Oh, what about the leader here in the U.S.?" No, say for example, Trump is of the Republican Party, but he will not be there forever. But our fund is not rotatory, and that is why he has to become neutral or stay in the middle, so that if your people join this party and some group of people which are still your people join this party, you are easily able to welcome all of them with fairness. But if you already align yourself to one side, then somebody coming now from another party, you look at him like an enemy.
Yeah, and again, I grew up in Menji. I can tell you tons of cases. I mean, again, I don't want to get into this too much, because then it might elicit a lot of very bad memories. We have ton of cases in the BLM, in Fontem, in Lebam, where political fights resulted to people being demoted just because they belong to the other side, right? So again, I think we're not refusing individual rights, because we as a community also need to recognize that even though we have a fund, we have a chief, we have whoever, they might also have their own personal ambitions. But what we're saying is that when you have the power of the people, then you also need to be, it is wise to think about how the people think, because that would also determine how you live. And there are things that you can decide, that the people, you will decide for the people, that I think the people will not have problems. But just a few things, I think I know it's very difficult with the challenging situation of Cameroon, which it is also important that we always have this in context, because sometimes the funds, the chiefs, some of the elites, they are being pushed in a suicidal manner to do what they don't even like. Okay, they don't want. And I am saying, because I've been very involved, I've been in leadership for a long time, and sometimes I see how the funds and the chiefs, they struggle with some of these things. They really, really struggle. They really don't like it, but they realize that, oh, if they don't do this, then they would face the wrath of the political leadership in Yaoundé. And that is part of the challenge here, because you have a regime that is very totalitarian, authoritarian, and it's a system. You either conform or you are in trouble. But I'm saying that at our level, the BLM, if we have a BLM development manifesto, where we're saying that, look, if you want to, you're a fondom, you're a chiefdom, you're a village, you want to go to Yaoundé to fight for something, please don't go try to fight to take what your other friend, your other fandom or village already has. Because this is part of the problem too. We have to find a way as the BLM people to make sure that all of us are developing, to make sure that we have a certain level of unity amongst us, to make sure that, you see, that's why you can see when I was in the Kodo, we took the health campaign to Fonjometo. The reason we did that is because We recognize that we have our brothers and sisters from Wabane, from Alo, who were not having these services. And we felt that as Lekudu, USA, it was important for us to extend a hand of fellowship because at the end of the day, Dr. Kuba, you and I went to school. Some of our friends, our best friends are from Wabane. Some of our best friends are from
No, of course, when the school started in 1981,
right,
oh, they were from the Chati and the rest from Wabane. People were, because there was no school, there was no other secondary school apart from Suda Wisdom in the BLM.
right. So there
Grammar
is
school
this
was the other secondary school at that time, 1981.
right. So there is this fight. There is this thing that really upsets me with a lot of our politics in our own place.
Okay,
People
now,
want people to fight each other.
yes, now, Terry, looking at from the traditional leadership now to the elected governance, the elected leadership,
Yep.
I'm talking of the mayor and the parliamentarian. These are the two people. The parliamentarian is on top, followed by the mayor. I don't even know the function of the senators. Of course, we have only one senator. What is happening that sometimes it doesn't mean that this wouldn't have the grip of what it takes to build a community.
So you see, that's this as again. I always like to exclude the war because there has been a tendency by a lot of people to have amnesia, to use the war as justification for
No,
all their inefficiencies or their lack of leadership and lack of presence. Okay, so let's just put the past nine, the past 9 years are just an amplification of what was happening before the war. It just helped to amplify a lot of these deficiencies. Okay, look at the mayor. Just look at the mayor. If you know what the leadership, the mayors for Menji Council, I'm going to talk about what I know. I know about Menji, I know about Wabani, I know about law. Okay, I used to do training for councillors in terms of capacity building, teaching them good governance and all of that for Menji Council. So I kind of um, you know have a history, a long history of this institution. When you have a mayor today who is not on the ground, who does not establish, they don't even have an office. You hear that, oh, the office was burned. They have not constructed a new office. But the mayor, there are government offices all over the place in Menji. At least, if you say the problem is a war, you can at least have a temporary thing in Menji. When with all these situation condition when conditions have improved, the past 2 3 years, conditions have significantly improved. Where are they? They are missing action. Okay, Honorable Dr. Fojo, it's missing action. I mean, in terms of creating an office, I am just tired with this idea of saying the situation is because of insecurity. To be honest with you, I think where there is a will, there will be a way.
way.
This situation of insecurity, it's our own boys, our own children, sons. And I know that if contractors, as my understanding, this, as I've been made to understand multiple times, there are contractors who are figuring out their way to go and do contracts. There are government initiatives that people, they are figuring it out a way to go do it. I think that if we are all the BLMers, we are all Fontem subdivision people, whatever the situation, it's us. The insecurity is us. If people really want to do something, they will do it. If they want to start running, operating their office in Menji, they will do it. I think it is high time. I don't understand why the SDO would be living in Menji. I know when I say this, people will say he's living with the military surrounding him. Every other government official the mayor, the parliamentarian, can also go live there and they will be protected by the military. But I think we are at the point where we need these officers, officials, to go back home and try to spur reconstruction because these contracts are not being executed well. I know it's been a virus, but at least so that we don't keep giving the contractors excuses, you need these offices, these officials to be on ground. The engineers who need to come and do the studies, need to come and evaluate these projects, they need to be on the ground. The teachers who need to teach our children, they need to be on ground. And I really, the issue of school education, the fact that teachers are refusing, teachers who are Fontem born and bred, are refusing to go back and reopen their schools. It is very sad. It is really sad. And I'm saying this because it is the government cannot be paying people salary, and then our local organizations, cultural organizations, development organizations, our local communities are contributing money out of pocket to pay PTA teachers. So many PTA teachers who first they don't have the best training. Government teachers have the best training because they went to highly professional schools. Second, they don't also have the affiliations to help bring credibility to a lot of the results. So if you have these government teachers, these teachers who should go back and teach in their own schools, and they are all resisting primary school. And I'll take a case in point, and I need to say this. The school in JA, which when I was CEO of Lekudu USA, I worked so hard with a few locals to reopen the JA school. We ran that school in partnership with the village a village development association for 2 3 years. That school has shut down. That school has closed down, and it has closed down because they they are no teachers. They are no PTA teachers, and meanwhile there are 6 government teachers who are actively on paper.
But
But
Terence, is it not? But I'm not cutting you short. Is it not the same? Does it not boil down to when I was pointing out that the delegate or the delegate for secondary education, the delegate or the inspector for primary and nursing education, because they are not in Menji, they are not doing the work that they ought to be doing. Like I was saying, in Dwara, I know the condition in Dwara may be different in Dwara for subdivision, where we saw this lady. I mean, everybody can go there and see it, and you saw the way most of the school in Bonabere are English schools. She's a francophone. She was struggling to speak English, even though her English was not well, but at least she could communicate the message, a lovely message that even the teacher were appreciated. She looked more like a motherly. She's caring. I mean, when she said, "These children, if you don't have the love for these children, there's no way you are going to be an effective teacher." So she wants you, quote unquote, to look at these children like your own self, teach them with love. I mean, this is not something that Paul Bier or somebody from Yaoundé have to order you to do that. I think it's all goes down to conscience.
thank you. I mean, let me give you an example because we just don't want to be criticizing. We also want to talk about and praise those who, during this crisis, have upheld the spirit of patriotism. Look at Jensen, the headmaster of Jensen Primary School, has been there for 4 years. Think about it. Has been there for 4 years running that school. If he wasn't there, that school will not be existing. You take, for example, the Technical Institute in Fongo, the principal and teachers who are not even from the bank are there in JA trying to save our young generation, our own children. People who are not even from JA, some of those teachers are not from JA, but they have reopened the school and they are doing their best under difficult situations. At the end of the day, I think we have to get over this thing of accusing Paul Biya and Yaoundé for everything that goes on wrong. At the end of the day, salvation is individual. If each individual cannot commit to helping their place, to the fidelity of good conscience, to help their place, I think it's high time we stop this thing about everything it's Yaoundé. No, Yaoundé does not come and teach our kids in the village. Yaoundé does not come and do a contract in the BLM. Yaoundé does not, it's not Yaoundé who is mayor in the BLM, in Fontem or Alon
Well,
or Wabane. It's not Yaoundé who is a parliamentarian. It's not Yaoundé who is a government worker. These are public service workers, public service. There's a reason why there's a definition for public service. You have service to the public. You're not of service to someone in Yaoundé. And you can see that there has been this idea of red zoning the BLM. And you know those those who push this thing behind the scenes, people who are benefiting from that narrative.
yeah.
They
Mm-hmm.
are receiving salaries, they are doing businesses all over in cities. They don't want to go back to this thing. And if you don't want to go back, please, you ask for transfer, you leave. I mean, there's no point that the BLM people should be struggling. Look at how much effort the diaspora is putting in to revive their place. And people are there receiving salaries and refusing to go perform the duties for which the government is paying them for. It is sad. And I
Yeah,
know
I
that
think
some government officials are also frustrated because part of the problem is that they also are fighting a fight that the local, our own people know how to go to Yaoundé and manipulate. So some of them have also struggled to try to get these our own people teachers to come back. And there's resistance, and they are trying to figure out whether to cut salaries or this. The same, the same people from the BLM from terms of
mhm.
will go and then push back at the government administrators who want to take action. So it becomes a vicious cycle. But I think that it is time that we really take the BLM first agenda and do a manifesto, and we're gonna flush out that manifesto that everybody, people will get input, it would identify our priorities, our challenges, and it will have a code of conduct and an oath. There are not many things that the BLM people want. The BLM people want roads. They want good schools, not just schools. They want good schools. They want a healthcare system that works for them. They want some sort of economic distinct markets and all of that. Their cocoa that they're harvesting. Is it a way to add value to it? Is it a way to protect them against price gouging and all
Yeah.
of? So they are just basic things that we need. Also, let me say this. Please, people should keep politics out of our associations. By Cameroon law, these associations are obligated to be apolitical. Let politicians keep their hands off our culture and development association. Those are the only few spaces where people in the opposition, people in the CPD, and people in government, people in private sector can come together and talk like one man without getting political. Once they start co-opting and forcing them to contribute to political campaigns, our development is ended. Because if you look at what has happened during the crisis, it is these development associations, other
That has survived. Yeah. Will that have really will serve extensively. I
right,
mean, Lukudu, the Kudem, Eka,
right.
Ledger, Mbonwe, and all these kind of small. I mean, these non-profit
Yeah,
organizations
they're the ones that have
are the
made the
ones that
difference.
really champion.
And they do this and then look at it. I don't know whether these politicians are really they have a conscience.
No, this
They're
where
even against their own interests. Because when you politicize these organizations that were working, people were working in unity, you weaken the organizations, you make people don't want to contribute. And remember, Lekudu USA, 2024, before I left office, we pumped in more than $600,000. 600,000. I'm talking more than 350 million to the bank, to projects. Just the health campaign, you know, I raised 74,000 dollars just for that health campaign. You can go, you look at the solar project, it was almost about 100 and something million. You go point by point, point by look at how much money that we pump into reviving our place, and that was
So
just
that's why I just think that, yeah, and that's why I think that, and I will really appreciate some of the maybe some of the politicians that they have really noticed that there are some of these cultural, like you are saying, let's protect this cultural, this non-profit organization that are really helping our community uh, survive in terms, so that people can chip in a little bit of money. I mean, I really wouldn't want to get into politics, but something is prompting me to, like, because you see people, there are some people that they don't contribute to this cultural development organization, that they are benefiting from it, but when it comes to some political stuff, they are quick to give. I don't want to go into that. Terence,
no, no,
uh,
no. You don't want to go into that, but we're not talking politics. But remember, accountability and transparency, it's a core virtue of how we live our lives here. Okay, and it is very telling that somebody, leaders also, would come to the culture for key development projects or initiatives for their fandom. They will contribute 1/10 or 1/4 of what they are giving for an election to a political party. That tells you where their loyalty is more, right? It tells you where they are benefiting from more. Yes, everybody has a right to do whatever they please to do with their money. Nobody questions that. Okay? But again, don't then come around and try to lecture people on social media. Okay? When the people who are trying to do development and are pumping they're sacrificing a lot of their time and their resources to do this. And sometimes the same people are the ones trying to obstruct these initiatives. So they bring politics into everything, right? I mean, how come I don't have a problem with people who contributed money to that initiative who have been contributing to the Kudu projects, the Kudu USA projects and all of that. For example, I know His Majesty gave about 600,000 for the road project. I know Dr. Fojo gave, is it 300,000? So I try to be fair because if somebody is contributing to our development initiatives and then goes and does whatever they want to do with their money, I don't have a problem. My problem is the fact that there are a lot of people on that list who did not contribute, who either did not contribute or just contributed a few, like
the
10,000.
bare minimum that was taxed,
Minimum. No, it was
that was
nobody,
levy.
no, nobody taxed anybody. They just contributed. They said they were broke. And I know people on that list who were broke, who have told me how they are broke. And when I see their names on that list, and I say, wow, that means they must be benefiting from this initiative because that's the only way you can interpret it. But again, people are free to do.
No, because they are benefiting personally.
Yeah,
You want to specify personally.
yeah. I know there is this there is this political angle. They try to play around with us and say, oh, they are doing this for the general good. They are fighting, to defend the interests of the bank, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? It's just like the idea of the idea of moving the divisional headquarters. Let me say something to you that would be shocking to a lot of people today. Since I grew up in Menji, since the divisional headquarters was given, they gave us a division and located the headquarters in Menji. Every single time they use the idea that the divisional headquarters is going to be moved to whip up sentiments when they want to achieve a political agenda. I know people would tell me, "Oh, look, I understand the system. I've been very knowledgeable, followed up this thing. And if you want to know how I understand the system, around 2002 or something, when there was a CBD election. My dad used to be the CBD subsection president for Menji Central. My dad is a wonderful man. Go ask everybody. Even though he was in the CBD, he was dragged into it because of his trust capital. A lot of people trusted him. He went in there, and whatever things they used to do there, he refused. I was not going to do it, and he left. But on that 2020, 2002, when they were doing elections, the municipal elections of 2000 something, yeah, around that early 2000, they had municipal elections. Do you know that Dr. Ngu, may so rest in peace, who is my dad's childhood friend and relative, was in charge of the elections. They were all come there. Their nerve center, their powerhouse was at Mandela, Palm Mandela
Hmm.
Hall. That is where the CBDM nerve center was. Do you know when they did the elections? They you know they rigged the elections for Menji Central and eliminated my dad and he put his girlfriend. Do you know what I did? I mobilized the young people in Menji, stormed that place, and we almost burned that place down. And they switched that result right there. It's something people might go find out. And they switched right there. So
No, I think
you need,
yeah, I think the power of
you know,
the new really need to stand up and stop and be and let their voice to be heard and really strategize. And I think the oncoming election will not be easy.
yeah,
We have seen what has happened in the whole Cameroon territory, right?
there
Where
needs
you
to be
see where
accountability. I mean, when
accountability.
elections come to municipal, parliamentary, these are local elections. But
So
there needs to be account. We need to push our people to perform better. Let's really forget about their
because
own.
because this is not presidential election, you come and go. No, you want to stay there and govern that area. It's
Yeah.
not like somebody that we don't even know. So I think Terence, there's one thing that I wanted us to talk about. We're talking about education before we dive in a little bit. Uh, I know after third term holiday, when the activity of the Inspired Bright Future for that season were over, I remember that you had some other event that were supposed to come on. I wanted to ask you in relation to education because I think you've thought about training, uh, organizing a pedagogy seminar to train some of these child that we've been discussing how some of these PTA teachers that are not well trained, even those that have been trained, that have stayed out for teaching without for a long time, or they need continued education, I will call it in the US, or this kind of pedagogy refresher courses and stuff like that. When you look at the education in the BLM, there was this clip, I think we also reported sometime in Boya, when the provincial delegate talk about digitalization. Then I finally learned a clip, this short video where Her Excellency Nalo Luanga, the Minister of, I think she's the Minister of either Basic Education or Secondary Education. I don't know which one is it, but she's of the Education Ministry in Yaoundé. She was talking about digitalization of secondary school. Yes, she's of the secondary school education. Then you look at the BLM where we don't even have light. Not to talk of this digitalization, because that is using the internet, using iPad, using computers to do teaching, to facilitate teaching that we do here. Sometimes shifting away from chalk and board to more digital system. Do you even envision the BLM somewhere, say 5 years time to even get to that level?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I'm an optimist. I look at. I mean, if you are somebody who deals with project management and conceptual models, where you identify problems that might look unsolvable, and then you try to find solutions to them. And part of the solution means an adaptive approach and finding the right people. Because look, a lot of problems have solutions. You just need the right people. Just need to put the right people together and focus them because that's part of leadership. And focus them on the goal, and they'll come out with the solution. Let me give you an example. For example, we have been I've been talking to an IT engineer who works. He's a board member of Dr. Ekokobe from KEMS NGO, Healing Beyond the Horizon. He's an IT engineer. He runs programs in Cameroon, also it's here in the US. Trying to find out from him and some other young people that have been trying to reach out to find out, can we have iPads or devices that can either have solar panels installed in them or can have some sort of a battery system that is, that is just the batteries that we can purchase and put. So they are looking at they are looking at that because development always has to be tailored to circumstances and realities. That's why every project you want to do, you have to do a feasibility studies because conditions are different and something that might be impossible to others, you might find possibility, right? By looking at the risks, looking at the challenges, and you do a SWOT analysis, strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and then you do some sort of a pest analysis, and you figure out, and you do a good study, and you would figure out that there are a lot of solutions to problems. So that is one thing we are thinking because we are determined that we're not going to leave our own youths behind. The excuse is not going to be that because we don't have lights. Yeah, we're going to be fighting to get lights, electricity. Of course, we are very appreciative with the efforts that Honorable Dr. Fojo is doing. Hopefully, that amounts to reality because um, the BLM people have been very um, they have been very disappointed a lot of times when projects get announced and even started, and then at the end of the day, if they don't get finalized and become real. So we are hoping that if that electricity is restored, it would at least help. But remember, having electricity does not solve the problem. Because remember, people in Yaoundé, they're in Douala, they're in Limbe. There is they cut off electricity
There's blackout every now and then.
every now and then. So, so we're also looking at this future, we're also being futuristic. Can we have devices that can be solar powered so that you can have these solar cells where maybe after they use the device, they can then display it where there's solar this thing to, re-energize and all of that. So we look at these options, and I know China also is doing, it's doing a lot of innovation. And the other thing, as part of the Inspired Bright Futures initiative, is we establishing STEM initiative programs, right? Science, STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, math, and medicine. So we're already starting to establish a STEM club in Cedar Wisdom. We're not only working now in the BLM, we're going to establish one in Cedar Wisdom, one in grammar school, depending on the student population, whether you have those science students who can
Hmm.
it. It depends, right? So everything
Yeah.
wisdom, we already have it guaranteed. We've done consultation and we have a good population, almost 300 students. The science, this thing is good. So we want to start a pilot phase there. So we have a club, a STEM club in Cedar Wisdom. We're also having one in Chang. We're having one in Limbe, one in Douala, and uh, yes, there's supposed to be five. Douala, Limbe, Boya, Chang, and Fontem. Yes.
Okay.
So these are going to be pilot initiatives. And what we want to do, Dr. Kumba, the world is moving to, I mean, this is a technology era. This is a technological era. This is an era of innovation. We cannot allow our own kids to stay behind. We can't allow our own division to stay behind. We can't allow our own Banwa, the BLM children to stay behind, right? We need to do something. We must not do, it must not be perfect. But remember,
Hmm.
the mind, what you push the mind to do, to think, determines how the future will be. Once we begin to indoctrinate our kids to be technologically motivated, and let me give you an example. Why is it that China is copying everything that America does and they are doing it even better?
Better.
Our own children not take even microwave, these Molinexes, and figure out the motor. What is driving the motor? And build it locally. I mean, what is, we can't be a country, we can't be a continent where all we do is we think we cannot, our children are not good. I left Cameroon and came here on a US based scholarship. When I came for that program with the Smithsonian Research Center, we had a competition, an end of course project. I was the first. So the idea to think that we Africans don't have brains, and it is, it's a failure that we want to change. And we have to start little by little to change it.
And you see, you're talking about this. Especially, I'm glad you mentioned about this term. The T will stand for technology, and we're talking about computer technology, digitalization. We're just using some of the time this big word just get frightful
Right.
and stuff like that.
Yeah, these are simple, these are
And
things that they are common things that people are
they
doing
are
now.
common things, and they are very basic and things that, and this is what is driving. Like you see the way, I don't want to go back and front. You see the way election was shaped. You see the way data were coming on. People were videotaping and sending it. It's all driven by this kind of technology that we are talking about.
Yep.
And somebody was somewhere putting all those things into one spreadsheet, so that by the end of the day, it's just remember, for example, already have all what it takes because the representative. But what I want to say is, coming to some of this iPad that you are mentioning about here, uh, I have a device that I probably now I send it to Cameroon.
Okay.
That is a solar panel device.
Okay.
You just tap the cable from there and plug it directly into the cell phone, into an iPad.
Okay.
It charges.
Okay. So you can see, just as I told
I
you
mean, these are
before.
things that, I mean, you don't even need to come and install some electric pole, some solar electric pole, or some kind of mysterious something.
Okay. So you can see the first solution to a problem, as we project management professionals says, first of all, to state the problem. Once I stated the problem, you have a solution. You have a potential solution. This idea of us always thinking that there are no solutions to our problems is not true. Okay, somebody has not sat down and thought about finding solutions to the problem. If somebody
Yeah.
does their homework, or some people do their homework, they would find that there are solutions to a lot of these problems. Okay, now for the STEM, once we put those clubs in place, we're going to have competitions, right? We're going to have internally in wisdom, they are going to have competitions among themselves, projects, STEM projects among themselves, just like my kids do STEM fair projects here. I have my kids who are
Mhm.
designing technological devices in their STEM fair project. They're carrying out experiments that you and I mean, these are kids in
But
primary
do
school.
you know that
You
you
and
know
I were in
but
university. We
you
never
know my
ever
first
had
son.
the opportunity to do.
You know my first son, right?
Yeah,
He he worked for Gaza Media. He
right.
does editing more than I do.
Better than you do. Not more
Yes,
than, better than you do.
I mean he's far more like even like manipulating the camera and the people like Pascal. I think Pascal has even given him money like several times because he was in like that doing broadcasting, live streaming. He controlled the camera more than anyone.
So you can see where we're going with this, right? We want to, and once we start doing that and having these internal competitions, and then we're going to have regional competitions where we're going to, they're going to face the STEM club in Wisdom is going to then face the other STEM clubs, and then we're going to funnel and then have a finals that is going to be big. And eventually, we're hoping to also create a a youth
Mhm.
network. So there are a lot of things that we're planning to do. But the key thing is we think our youths, we cannot allow their brains to be limited. We need to nurture their brains and give them that edge.
And you see most of these things. Somebody like one of us, I think Elvis Achadan, the who used to do the family history
Yeah,
uh, stuff.
family bunch.
Yes, yeah, I mean, he's an IT guy. He does a website designer. It's a website based service which contain creating an app, creating a website, doing all kind of stuff in technology. These are people that you can tap them in sometime. They can provide some of these lectures or some of these classes or some of this basic training online that they don't need to
Yeah.
be on the ground.
Right, and I would say something about Mr. Elvis Chavajong also. He's a great guy, and you see, one of the things we need to do as the BLM people, as Bangwa people, is to promote our own. So, if we have someone like that who is
Yeah,
ready,
remember you invited him here for the
yeah,
US,
I
for the
yeah
people
I
US.
invited him. Yeah, I invited him for
Yeah,
this, and that is the way I look at the world. Right, it's all about empowerment. The world of today is all about empowerment.
empowerment.
We need to empower our own people. We empower our own experts. We help them grow. So if anybody wants to build a website, you don't need to go to someone else to go build a website. Reach out to Mr. Elvis Chapajo.
Exactly.
You know, if you have a problem with applications, you're trying to figure out, can I develop an app to do this? Reach out to him. A lot of times we have solutions in our midst. We just usually have the tendency to always underlook and feel that, oh, there's nobody amongst in our own circle who can do something. No, boy, it's a ton. My time in Lekodo, you realize that I brought in a lot of talent. Okay, there's a
Yeah.
lot of talent, existing talent. You don't need to go struggle. So I think let's try, like the Jewish money. Let's try to keep our
No,
resources.
I think especially for this guy like Elvis, I would really urge people that have, especially people that have companies
Yeah,
like Peter Mbeta Martin, who has a company, should really talk to this guy
yeah,
and let this guy be him. I mean, I've seen some of the work that he's doing. I happen to talk with him a lot. See some of the template that he's building the legal website for EU, where you have all these different country like chapters display on it. I mean, I saw the layout and everything. It was amazing.
yeah, and it delivers on time.
Yeah.
You understand? The problem we have a lot also sometimes in our community is that people take projects, they just don't deliver on time. I don't even know where the Lekuru USA website that I initiated. I don't know where we are, but it's sitting there, and and I
And
think
this guy, and just to make you know, and this guy he has been working on the for the past 1 week now. He has been working on Gaza Media website, and we'll be releasing it soon. Yeah, people will enjoy it.
yeah.
Yeah,
So and just as we're talking about the Inspire Bright Futures program, so we have that STEM program that it's already we're in the process of establishing the pilot club in Cedar Wisdom. We are also organizing a mini soccer tournament for Christmas.
yeah,
You know, I always believe that instead of pointing to problems, if everybody can do a little bit to solve that problem,
problem.
take a bite. That
That's what I
problem,
was.
bite by bite, it gets solved.
Uh-huh.
So when people say young people are not going back to the village, what we decided to do was to start building programs that would encourage young people to go to the village, because when they go to the village resembles like what they knew before the crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they want to be able to have this soccer, these social gatherings. Okay, and we are not just doing soccer. We're planning to do a 10-day competition. We're gonna have we already have 4 teams that have registered. We're aiming for 6 teams. Um, Christmas is gonna be busy. These young people are gonna love it. In addition, we're having a party. You know, in the days of socials for grammar school, in the days of Ikengu, right? Petit coin
Yeah.
d'abord, you know, we want to reenact that same spirit. So we're going to have a social. The tournament is going to end up with a social, because when we're doing the finals for the summer tournament for Inspire Bright Futures, that football tournament, the young people wanted a dance. But we could not
Oh,
organize a dance at that time. So we're going to organize that dance. It's going to be big. We have Bangwa musicians that are coming to perform. That is how big this is going to be. Bangwa musicians. Right now we already have two. are coming from outside to perform
Mhm.
at that dance. So it's going to give people, we want to uplift the spirit of our people. We can sit and criticize and say, oh, this is not going well, this is not. At the end of the day, the question is that, what are we doing about it? And I made a decision long time ago to try to do something about these challenges. Okay. And I think gradually, people can see it's making a difference. My other plea to people is because my experience has been that sometimes we come with trying to do these good initiatives. There are people behind the scene trying to sabotage them, trying to stop them. And it's very typical of the Leban man and the elites that people come, they're trying to help their place. There's nothing we gain doing this for Leban. It's a lot of our time, a lot of our effort, a lot of our money. We don't get anything. And instead of people supporting, some of them will go to the SGO and say, stop this tournament. Some of them will go to this and come up with motives. But I know that once God is in control, when you're doing anything that would benefit the people, that is selfless, God is in control. Nobody can stop it. That is always my belief. And that's why I take these big, challenging projects and I do them. Because I always, first of all, my drive is that this is for the interest of the common man. This is the interest of my place, patriotism that I have for my place. At the end of the day, we are all in the stage of our lives where all we care is legacy, to ask ourselves that before we leave this world, did we live a purpose-driven life? Did we impact the lives of people who were in a weaker position? They had no means to do things for themselves, and we came in and helped those things happen. So to me, at the end of the day, that is what matters. And we also need to join hands together because as we're doing this, someone else is doing something. Everybody is doing something to help. But we should stop being in the habit of trying to stop others because that has been a big problem in the bank and a big problem in the BLM. People will stop something because they perceive that you're going to benefit 10%. They see a 10% benefit from you. Maybe, oh, it makes people like you, but they will kill that thing. Oh, for them, they come up with some theory. When you do that, you're doing this thing like this, you're challenging, it's now showing that they cannot do something. But they forget about that 90% of the benefit is going to the common man. It's going to them. A lot of these politicians, because of what we did, Lekuru USA did, that's why they're able to go to Fontem today. That's why they're able to go anywhere and boast that their place is no longer the laughing stock. I mean, so people forget so soon that when I came in and I saw when I ran in 2020 that I will open schools, I will do this, I will do this. People challenged me. People said it was impossible. But here we are. We left last year with 16 schools operating. We paid teachers' salary, 68 teachers. I mean, we're going
Mhm.
to release this record. I know it's taking longer because we're kind of doing a lot of work, other things, but we're putting a report together. And people will see we paid salaries for teachers for this in these schools. A lot. I mean, some years over 12 million that the Kudu USA spent paying teachers' salaries. And we did this in partnership with the village development associations. Okay? And that is why you have schools in Fontem today.
Yeah,
And that's
thanks.
why you have the
Thank
hospital.
you.
Yeah.
Yes, I think I want to thank you so much. We almost exhausted our 1 hour here, even though we didn't start on top of the hour that we'll do. But I really want to thank our viewer. Thank you for stopping by, so that we'll continue to do this. But I know for sure, the youth are mobilizing. I think business will no longer be the same. Uh, saying this openly. So the CPDM elite should be aware that the political situation in the building will no longer be the same. Happen to come across some of their social media handling. Um, no, the energy is coming. They have sick and tired of people taking advantage, give money. You see, we reported on how much money has been pumped to the BLM for roads. But where are the roads? But up to now, we still see a lot of transport fare are still at this point in October, 15,000 to 20,000 from Chang to Menji,
So,
which is,
director.
yeah.
So let me say one last thing because
Yeah,
I'm not
sorry,
sure.
maybe the CEO, I'm online now. I don't know if the CEO of the Kudu USA wanted to make an announcement. He's calling me. So,
Okay.
okay, go ahead, but he's
Yes.
dropped.
So I also wanted to say that we have also determined that we're not just going to be doing activities in the village. That Lebang, it's wherever Lebang people are. So
Mm-hmm,
we also think about activities now in Munyenge,
mm-hmm,
Bafia, Ikata. There are a lot of Lebang and the BLM people in other areas who are suffering, right?
mm-hmm.
We want to go there, and because part of it is also that we've realized that the situation, some of the elites are very unpredictable, and sometimes we're trying to do things in the village, and you come under, the blackmail and try to stop it. So for us now to kind of diversify, we're going to take other activities to where Lebang people are. We even think about population centers like in Limbe, um,
Mm-hmm.
in all of that. So, there's a lot that we're planning. We're going to kind of.
Yes, okay, yeah. You mean where because of the during the crisis, most people displaced. In addition to that, the bank or the business people have always clustered in most of these people. Like you're talking about, Moyokam
Moyenge.
Bafia,
Yeah,
Moyenge.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's majority. Yeah, I mean, they are our people, right? They are our people, and
yeah,
they too are suffering. So if you improve the life of the BLM people, the bank people anywhere, you've improved the life of the bank and
yeah.
the life of the BLM. You
Mm-hmm.
and I are in America, right? If we did not improve our lives, and we will not be able to help, right? Help back
Yeah,
home.
sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I thank you so much. I think I just have this couple of announcements to make, and I would really want to thank our viewer and thank you for stepping in here again. It was a wonderful time. We'll continue to foster this conversation, try to educate and inform our community so that they should be aware, at least at the same time, trying to hold those leaders, especially the elected ones, accountable because they are given the mandate to be in that office. And it is our responsibility, us in the media included, and the general public, to ask them pertinent questions when they see that things are not going right. If things are going right, we will report on them and appreciate them for what they are also doing. We know it's a tough job, it's a tough time, but if you take those kind of responsibility, especially the elected ones that are being paid by the government, they should do it. At least for those non-governmental organizations, we will also like to hold them accountable for if because you take money from the public to go do some project. We'll also do that. I want to thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let me do this announcement very quickly. Next Sunday, October the 16th, Lekudu USA will be having a Zoom conference meeting. The flyer and the communique is out. I think the CEO just asked me to remind members of the Kudu USA that there will be a kind of a post-convention meeting that will be taking place again next Sunday, 16th of October. That should be next week and next Sunday, like today, 7 days from now. And again, GBHS Fontaine alumina, that means the S student headed by Dr. Bebop Bernard, they are seeking for teachers to come and teach in GBHS Fontaine in Menji. So it's being sponsored by the ex-student. So they are looking for teachers. Somebody was asking which teacher do they need. So reach out to the principal or to the phone numbers on that communique, and they will be able to tell you which of the positions are available. So the enumeration are very uh, much. It's a good package. So any teacher out there, reach out to them and also help, especially those from the BLM and those from the area, that they can also help uh, their own children and their young one to bridge the gap of this education that for over 9 years now, most of these kids have not really have a steady education. And of course, the Bank Sovereign Fund will still be coming on. A program that was set up that is being chaired by His Royal Highness for Sengong, Dr. Nkokwa. So that program will still be coming on. We are probably because of the election and the political this thing, it was put to a hold a little bit. So he will be coming back to that to launch the program or to just reactivate the program again. I think that was it for today. And we thank you so much for staying tuned with us. Until then, we'll see you next time. Bye bye.